Dr. Amanda Clark stared at her computer screen with wide eyes. The numbers dancing across the monitor made no sense. She rubbed her tired eyes and looked again. The readings were still there, still impossible. "This can't be right," she whispered to herself in the quiet research station. The Horizon orbital platform hummed softly around her as it spun through space high above Earth. Amanda had been working alone for 3 hours, checking sensor data from the outer system. What she found made her heart race. Something big was coming. Toward Earth. Not one object, but many. The computer counted 15 massive shapes moving through space beyond Neptune. They were huge, bigger than any ship humans had ever built. Much bigger. Amanda's hands shook as she reached for the emergency communication button. She pressed it and waited for the connection to Earth. "Ground control, this is Dr. Clark on Horizon Station. I need to speak with Commander Morrison, right?" Away. The voice that answered sounded sleepy. "Dr. Clark, it's 3 in the morning down here. Can this wait until morning shift?" "No, it cannot wait," Amanda said firmly. "Get me Commander Morrison now. We have visitors." 20 minutes later, Jake Morrison's tired face appeared on Amanda's screen. The commander of the United Nations Space Command looked like he had been pulled from his bed, which he had been. His gray hair stuck up at odd angles, and his uniform. Shirt was wrinkled. "Amanda, what's so important that you woke me up at 3 in the morning? Jake, look at these readings." Amanda sent the data to his screen. 15 objects, each one about 5 miles long. They're moving toward Earth at incredible speed. Jake's sleepy expression vanished. He leaned forward and studied the numbers. "How long until they reach us?" "At their current speed, about 18 hours. "Are you sure these readings are correct?" "I've checked them 6 times. The computers agree. These are real objects, and they're heading straight for us." Jake ran his hand through his messy hair. "I'll wake up the emergency council. Keep watching those objects and report any changes immediately. Jake, there's something else. The objects are slowing down. It looks like they plan to stop near Earth. I'll be right up." 3 hours later, Jake Morrison stood beside Amanda in the observation deck of Horizon Station. Through the large window, they could see tiny points of light that grew larger every minute. The alien ships were close enough now to see with the naked eye. "They're beautiful," Amanda said softly. The ships looked like giant silver teardrops, smooth and perfect. No human ship had ever looked so elegant. "Beautiful or not, we need to be ready for anything," Jake replied. He spoke into his communication device. "Ground control, this is Morrison. Are all world leaders connected to the emergency channel?" "Yes, Commander. President Martinez is standing by, along with the leaders of Russia, China, Britain, and the other major powers." "Good. Dr. Clark, are you picking up any communications from the ships?" Amanda checked her instruments. "Yes, there's a signal coming in now. It's very complex, but the computer is trying to translate it." The main screen in the observation deck flickered to life. Static filled the display for several seconds, then cleared to show a face unlike anything humans had ever seen. The creature had pale blue skin and large dark eyes. Its head was longer than a human head, and it had no visible nose, just small slits where a nose should be. "People of Earth," the creature said in perfect English, "I am High Arbiter Zeke Tar, of the Veilthrin hegemony. We come in peace and friendship." Jake stepped forward. "This is Commander Morrison of the United Nations Space Command. We welcome you to our solar system." The alien's face showed what might have been a smile. "Commander Morrison, we are pleased to make contact with your species. We have been watching your development for some time. Your people show great promise." "You've been watching us?" "Yes, from a safe distance. We do not interfere with developing civilizations until they are ready for galactic contact. We believe your species has reached that point. Amanda whispered to Jake. The translation system is working perfectly. Either they learned our language by watching us, or their technology is incredibly advanced. High Arbiter Zektar continued speaking. We have come to offer your world something precious. We offer you the protection of the Velthran hegemony. Protection? Jake asked. What kind of protection? The galaxy is a dangerous place, Commander Morrison. There are many hostile species that prey upon worlds like yours. Young civilizations that venture into space alone rarely survive long. We offer to protect Earth and all its people from these dangers. President Martinez's voice came through the communication system from Earth. High Arbiter, this is President Martinez of the United States and current chair of the United Nations Security Council. What would this protection involve? President Martinez, we are honored to speak with you. Our protection is complete and effective. We will share our advanced technology with your people. Our medical knowledge can end most diseases that plague your world. Our energy systems can provide clean power for all your needs. In return, we ask only that you accept our guidance in joining the galactic community. That sounds very generous. President Martinez replied. But I have to ask an important question. Protection from what, exactly? There was a pause. High Arbiter Zektar's large eyes seemed to grow even larger. Behind him, other alien figures moved in the background, and Amanda could see them looking at each other with what appeared to be surprise. I'm sorry, President Martinez. Could you repeat your question? I asked what specific threats you're offering to protect us from. What dangers exist in the galaxy that we need protection from? Another pause, longer this time. High Arbiter Zektar's expression became difficult to read. President Martinez, in our experience, most species are grateful to receive our protection. They do not usually ask for details about the threats. The galaxy contains many dangers. Pirates, hostile empires, dangerous creatures, cosmic phenomena that can destroy entire worlds. Our protection covers all these threats and more. But what specific threats are targeting Earth right now? President Martinez pressed. Are there hostile fleets heading toward us? Have pirate groups marked our system for attack? We need to understand what we're being protected from. Jake noticed that the alien seemed uncomfortable with these questions. High Arbiter Zektar looked away from the screen for a moment, apparently talking to someone outside the camera's view. President Martinez, the threats to unprotected worlds are numerous and varied. Some are immediate, some are potential. Our long experience has taught us that protection is always preferable to waiting for threats to materialize. I understand that, President Martinez said patiently. But surely you can give us some specific examples of what threatens Earth. The details are complex and would require much time to explain properly. What is important is that we are here, now ready to extend our protection to your world. Time is a factor, as our fleet cannot remain in your system indefinitely. Amanda turned to Jake and whispered, They're not answering the question. Every time the President asks for specifics, they give vague responses. Jake nodded and spoke into his communicator. High Arbiter, perhaps we could discuss the terms of this protection arrangement. What exactly would be required of Earth and its people? The terms are quite reasonable, Commander Morrison. Your world would become a protected member of the Velthran hegemony. You would receive all the benefits I mentioned. Your people would be free to live their lives as they choose, with the guidance of our experienced administrators. Administrators? Yes, experienced officials who help newly protected worlds integrate smoothly into galactic civilization. They ensure that technology is properly implemented and that cultural transition proceeds without conflict. President Martinez's voice came through clearly. High Arbiter, how many worlds are currently under your protection? Over 400 worlds across this sector of the galaxy, benefit from our protection. And how many of those worlds have chosen to leave your protection? Another uncomfortable pause. President Martinez, once a world accepts our protection, there is rarely any desire to leave. The benefits are too great, and the dangers of unprotected existence too severe. That doesn't answer my question. How many have chosen to leave? The question is not relevant. Protected worlds do not leave protection voluntarily. Jake and Amanda exchanged glances. The alien's answer was troubling. High Arbiter, Jake said, we appreciate your offer, but we need time to consider it carefully. This is a decision that will affect our entire species. Of course, Commander Morrison. However, I must stress that our offer cannot remain open indefinitely. We will remain in your system for 72 hours to allow for your decision. After that time, we must move on to other responsibilities. The screen went dark. Jake and Amanda stood in silence for a moment, processing what they had just heard. Amanda, did that sound like a generous offer to you? No, Jake. It sounded like a threat. President Helen Martinez sat in the secure conference room, deep beneath the White House. Around the table sat the leaders of every major nation on Earth. The room was filled with tension as everyone tried to process what they had just witnessed. We need to be very careful here, President Martinez said to the group. The aliens are clearly not telling us everything. The British Prime Minister leaned forward. Their answers were evasive. Every time you asked for specifics, they changed the subject. Exactly, President Martinez replied. And did you notice how surprised they seemed when I asked what they were protecting us from? It's like no one has ever asked them that question before. The Russian president spoke up. This troubles me greatly. In my experience, when someone offers you protection but won't tell you from what, they are usually the threat themselves. Meanwhile, at MIT in Boston, Dr. Kevin Lee was having the most exciting day of his scientific career. The aliens had provided small samples of their technology as a gesture of goodwill. Kevin and his team were studying these samples with every instrument they had. This is incredible, Kevin said to his assistant, Dr. Nancy Brooks. Look at this energy reading. The power source in this tiny device could run our entire laboratory for a month. Nancy pointed at her computer screen. Kevin, look at this. The material composition includes elements that don't exist on our periodic table. These aliens are working with matter we can't even create. But that's not the strangest part, Kevin said, frowning at his data. Nancy, this technology has built-in limitations. See these pathways here? They're designed to shut down if certain conditions are met. What kind of conditions? I'm not sure yet, but it looks like remote activation codes. Someone could turn off this technology from far away if they wanted to. Nancy stared at the screen. Why would they build that into technology they're giving as gifts? That's a very good question. Back at the United Nations headquarters in New York, Ambassador Lisa Parker was meeting with diplomats from around the world. Everyone was trying to understand what the aliens really wanted. Has anyone found any record of these Valthron in our radio telescope data? Lisa asked the group. We've been searching for 48 hours, replied the Japanese representative. No trace of their ships until they appeared at the edge of our solar system. Either their technology is completely undetectable, or they haven't been watching us as long as they claim. A German ambassador looked up from his tablet. I've been reading the transcript of the conversation. The alien leader said they've been watching our development, but when pressed for details, he couldn't provide any. What do you mean? Lisa asked. Well, if they've been watching us, they should know about our recent conflicts, our technological advances, our cultural differences. But everything the alien said was very general. Nothing specific that would prove they've actually been observing U.S. closely. In Geneva, Switzerland, Colonel Ryan Davis was studying detailed images of the alien fleet that had been captured by Earth's most powerful telescopes. What he saw worried him greatly. "These are not exploration ships," he said to his team of military analysts. "Look at the hull design, the positioning of what appear to be weapon ports, the formation they're maintaining." Captain Betty Stone, his second in command, pointed at the tactical display. "Sir, I count at least 30 obvious weapon systems on each ship. That's more firepower than our entire global defense network." "Exactly. If they're here to offer protection, why do they need so many weapons? And look at this formation. They've positioned themselves to cover all escape routes from Earth. Nothing could leave our planet without their permission." "Colonel," said Lieutenant Frank Miller, "I've been analyzing their engine signatures. These ships could destroy everything in our solar system if they wanted to. Why bring that much power to make a peaceful offer?" Colonel Davis studied the data for a long time before answering, because maybe it's not really an offer. High above Earth on Horizon Station, Dr. Amanda Clark was having another conversation with High Arbiter Zektar. This time, she was asking the questions. "High Arbiter, thank you for agreeing to speak with me. I'm a scientist, and I'm very interested in learning about galactic civilization." "Of course, Dr. Clark, we are always pleased to share knowledge with developing species. Can you tell me about other worlds that have accepted your protection? What was their experience like?" High Arbiter Zektar seemed pleased by the question. "We have many success stories, Dr. Clark. The world of Kepler 442b accepted our protection 50 of your years ago. They now enjoy perfect peace and prosperity." "That sounds wonderful. Could we speak with representatives from Kepler 442b? It would help us understand what to expect." The alien's expression changed slightly. "That would not be possible, Dr. Clark. Protected worlds are very busy with their development programs. They do not have time for communications with unprotected species." "I see. What about the world that most recently joined your protection? Could we at least hear a recorded message from them?" "Dr. Clark, you must understand that protected worlds quickly move beyond the concerns of their pre-protection existence. They have little interest in discussing their former lives." Amanda found this answer very strange. "High Arbiter, surely they would want to encourage other worlds to accept protection? If the benefits are as great as you say, wouldn't they be eager to share their positive experiences?" There was a long pause. "Dr. Clark, each world's transition to protection is unique. What matters is not the past, but the future we can offer. Your species, one more question if I may. You mentioned that over 400 worlds are under your protection. Could you give me the names of a few of these worlds, just so we can research them in our astronomical databases?" "That information is not relevant to your decision, Dr. Clark. What matters is Earth's future, not the details of other worlds." After the communication ended, Amanda immediately called Jake Morrison. "Jake, something is very wrong here. The aliens won't provide any specific information about the worlds they claim to protect. No names, no communications, no proof that these worlds are actually better off." "That matches what we're hearing from other sources," Jake replied. "The technology samples they provided have built-in shutdown mechanisms. The military says their ships are positioned like an invasion force, not a diplomatic mission." "Jake, I think we need to ask them much harder questions." "I agree. President Martinez is planning another communication session in 6 hours. We're going to push for real answers this time." At the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta, Dr. Carol White was examining the medical technology the aliens had provided. What she found made her very concerned. "This is remarkable," she said to her team. "This medical scanner can diagnose diseases we've never even discovered. But look at this data stream." Her colleague, Dr. Paul Gray, studied the information flowing across their screens. "Carol, this device isn't just scanning. It's recording everything. Every piece of biological data about whoever is being scanned. Exactly. And look where the data is being sent. Carol pointed to a series of transmission codes. This information is being broadcast somewhere. Someone is collecting detailed biological data about humans. Why would they need that if they're just trying to help us? I don't know, Paul, but I don't like it. Across the world, similar discoveries were being made. The alien technology was impressive, but it all contained hidden functions. Monitoring systems, remote control mechanisms, data collection programs. Every gift came with invisible strings attached. President Martinez received reports from scientists, military experts, and intelligence analysts throughout the day. By evening, the picture was clear. The aliens were not being honest about their intentions. We need to confront them directly, President Martinez told her advisors. We have enough evidence now to ask the hard questions. Madam President, said Secretary of Defense Robert Wilson, we should be prepared for the possibility that they won't like our questions. Our military is ready, but we're seriously outgunned if this turns into a conflict. I understand the risks, Robert, but we can't make a decision about Earth's future based on lies and half-truths. We need to know what we're really dealing with. That evening, President Martinez sat down for what would become the most important conversation in human history. This time, she wasn't going to accept vague answers. High Arbiter Zektar, thank you for speaking with us again. We've had time to study your technology samples and consider your offer. We have some specific questions that need clear answers. Of course, President Martinez, we are happy to address your concerns. First, the technology you've provided contains monitoring and control systems. Why, the aliens' large eyes seem to grow even larger. President Martinez, these systems are necessary for proper integration and safety. Safety for whom? And integration into what, exactly? Safety for your people, of course. And integration into galactic civilization under our guidance. High Arbiter, let me ask you a direct question. If we accept your protection, will Earth still be governed by humans? For the first time, High Arbiter Zektar hesitated for a long moment before answering. President Martinez, protected worlds are governed by experienced administrators who understand galactic law and customs. Maria Santos had always been good at finding secrets. As the head of intelligence analysis for the United Nations, she spent her days looking for patterns in data that others missed. Today, she was hunting for the biggest secret of all. Computer, show me all communication intercepts from the alien fleet over the past 24 hours. Maria said to her workstation, the screen filled with dozens of data streams. Most were encrypted, but Maria's team had been working around the clock to break the alien codes. What they found was disturbing. Director Santos called her assistant, Tom Parker, from across the room. I think you need to see this. Maria walked over to Tom's desk. On his screen was a translation of an intercepted message between two alien ships. Look at this conversation, Tom said, pointing at the text. Ship Commander Veltok is talking to High Arbiter Zektar. Listen to what they're saying. Maria read the translated message aloud. Veltok says, the humans are asking too many questions. Most species accept protection after the first demonstration. And Zektar replies, yes, their resistance is unusual. Prepare the fear protocols if negotiations fail. Fear protocols? Maria asked. Tom, keep working on these intercepts. I need to call President Martinez immediately. While Maria was uncovering alien communications, Dr. Amanda Clark was making her own discoveries about galactic civilization. She had been studying the alien language database that the Veilthron had provided as another goodwill gesture. This is fascinating, Amanda said to her colleague, Dr. Steve Johnson, who had joined her on Horizon Station. Steve, look at this linguistic analysis. The Veilthrin language has over 200 words for different types of obedience and submission. That's unusual, Steve replied. What about words for independence or freedom? Amanda checked her database. That's the strange part. They don't have exact translations for those concepts. The closest they have is a word that means dangerous isolation, and another that means reckless abandonment of safety. So, in their language, independence is automatically a bad thing? It appears so. Steve, look at this. Amanda pulled up another section of the database. They have 47 different words for protection, but only 3 words for choice, and those 3 all have negative meanings. What do you mean? One means foolish decision, another means dangerous mistake, and the third means childish stubbornness. Steve, I don't think these aliens understand the concept of voluntary cooperation between equals. Meanwhile, on Earth, General Patricia Hill was coordinating the planet's defense preparations. She didn't trust the aliens, and she wanted humanity to be ready for anything. Report, she said to Colonel Davis as he entered her command center. General, we've completed our analysis of the alien fleet. 15 ships, each one capable of destroying a major city. But here's the interesting part. Colonel Davis activated a holographic display showing the alien ships. Their formation is perfect for intimidation, but it has some tactical weaknesses. What kind of weaknesses? They're positioned like they expect no resistance. Their ships are spread out to maximize visual impact, not to protect each other. If they were expecting a real fight, they would arrange their fleet very differently. General Hill studied the display, so they're used to targets that don't fight back. That's my assessment, General. Everything about their approach suggests they're accustomed to easy victories through intimidation alone. What about our chances if this turns into a shooting war? Colonel Davis was quiet for a moment. Honestly, General, we'd be outgunned 15-1. But we might have some advantages they don't expect. At the same time, Dr. Carlos Vega was working in his laboratory at NASA, trying to understand how human technology might compare to alien systems. What he discovered surprised everyone. This is remarkable, Carlos said to his research team. The alien technology is incredibly advanced, but it's also very rigid. Look at these energy patterns. His assistant, Dr. Lisa Chong, studied the data. What do you mean by rigid? Every alien device we've examined works exactly the same way, every time. There's no variation, no adaptation. The technology is perfect, but it can't change or improve itself. Is that bad? Not necessarily, Carlos replied. But look at what happens when I try to modify one of their devices using human engineering. Principles. He activated a hybrid device on his workbench. The machine hummed to life, but its energy output was 30% higher than the original alien version. How is that possible? Lisa asked. Humans approach technology differently than the aliens do. We improvise, we adapt, we make changes based on new situations. The aliens appear to have perfected their technology and then stopped innovating. So our primitive technology might actually have advantages. In some ways, yes. Our technology is less advanced, but more flexible. We can modify and improve things quickly. The aliens seem to rely on overwhelming superiority rather than adaptability. Back in the Intelligence Center, Maria Santos was putting together a complete picture of the Veilthrin hegemony based on intercepted communications and data analysis. President Martinez, Maria said over a secure video link, I have a full report on what we're really dealing with. Go ahead, Maria. The Veilthrin hegemony operates exactly like a protection racket, but on a galactic scale. They approach developing civilizations and offer protection from mysterious threats. Species that accept become vassals, contributing resources and following Veilthrin commands. Species that refuse face attacks from unknown hostiles. Are you? saying the Veilthrin create the threats they claim to protect against? That's exactly what I'm saying, Madam President. We've intercepted communications referring to false flag operations and threat simulation protocols. The dangers they warn about are largely manufactured by them. President Martinez felt sick. How many civilizations have they done this to? Based on their own communications, hundreds, maybe thousands. They've been running this operation for centuries, expanding their empire one protection agreement at a time. Maria, have you found any record of species that successfully resisted them? A few, but the records are incomplete. Most species that refuse protection are destroyed by mysterious attacks within months. However, there are references to some civilizations that escaped to remote parts of the galaxy. I need you to try to contact these survivors if possible. We need to know everything about Veilthrin tactics and weaknesses. 3 hours later, Maria's team achieved the impossible. Using the alien communication technology, they managed to send a message to the edge of the galaxy, where some refugee civilizations were believed to exist. The response came faster than expected. "This is Commander Zeph of the Corin survivors," came a voice speaking broken English. "We received your message. You are in great danger. The Veilthrin will destroy your world if you refuse their protection." President Martinez personally took the call. "Commander Zeph, this is President Martinez of Earth. Can you tell us about the Veilthrin methods?" "President Martinez, my people, once had a great civilization. 12 billion Corin lived on our world when the Veilthrin came. They offered the same protection they offer you now. What happened when you refused? At first, nothing. Then strange ships began attacking our outer colonies. Ships that used Veilthrin technology but carried no identification. When we asked the Veilthrin for help, they said they could only protect us if we accepted their full protection agreement. You discovered the attacks were fake? Yes, but too late. By the time we realized the truth, half our world was destroyed by these fake attacks. We had to choose between surrender and extinction. What did you choose? Some of our people surrendered. They are still alive, but they are no longer truly Corin. They follow Veilthrin orders and have forgotten their own culture. The rest of us fled to the galaxy's edge with whatever ships we could save." President Martinez felt a chill. "Commander, Zeph, do the Veilthrin have any weaknesses we can exploit?" "Their greatest weakness is their arrogance. They have never faced a species that could adapt quickly to new situations. All their victories come from overwhelming force or deception. They do not know how to fight an enemy that can change tactics rapidly. Anything else?" "Yes, the Veilthrin cannot understand independent thinking. Their entire society is based on hierarchy and obedience. When they encounter truly free thinking, it confuses them. Use this confusion to your advantage." After the communication ended, President Martinez called an emergency meeting of world leaders. "The situation is worse than we thought," she told the assembly. "The Veilthrin are not protectors. They're galactic conquerors who use fake threats to force civilizations into submission. If we refuse their offer, they'll attack us and then offer to save us from the attacks they're creating." The British Prime Minister asked, "What are our options? We can surrender and lose our freedom, or we can fight and risk destruction. Is there a third option?" asked the Japanese Prime Minister. President Martinez looked around the room at the worried faces of Earth's leaders. "Maybe, but it's never been tried before." "What do you mean?" "Every species the Veilthrin have encountered either surrendered immediately or fought a traditional defensive war. But what if we don't do either? What if we take the fight to them first?" The room fell silent. Finally, the Russian president spoke. The ultimatum came exactly 72 hours after first contact. High Arbiter Zektar appeared on screens around the world, his expression more serious than before. "People of Earth," he said, You have had sufficient time to consider our generous offer of protection. We require your answer now. Accept our protection and join the galactic community, or face the consequences of remaining unprotected in a hostile galaxy. President Martinez stood in the United Nations Assembly Hall, surrounded by leaders from every nation on Earth. Behind her, the flags of all countries created a colorful backdrop as she prepared to give humanity's response. High Arbiter Zektar, she said, looking directly into the camera, we appreciate your offer, but Earth respectfully declines your protection. The alien's large eyes widened with what appeared to be genuine shock. President Martinez, I must warn you that this decision is extremely dangerous. Unprotected worlds rarely survive long in the galaxy. We understand the risks, President Martinez replied firmly. However, we have decided that humanity will protect itself. Protect yourselves? President Martinez, you have barely begun to. Explore your own solar system. How can you possibly defend against galactic threats? President Martinez smiled calmly. High Arbiter, that's our concern, not yours. We thank you for your time, but we must ask you to leave our solar system now. The screen went black. For a moment, the assembly hall was completely silent. Then President Martinez turned to address the world leaders behind her. Ladies and gentlemen, now we find out what humanity is really made of. Within hours, the Velthrin fleet began moving into attack positions. But humanity was ready. Dr. Carlos Vega had spent the past 3 days working without sleep in his laboratory. The breakthrough came when he stopped trying to copy alien technology and started improving it instead. Lisa, look at this, he said to his assistant as she brought him another cup of coffee. I've combined the alien power source with our adaptive circuit designs. The result is incredible. On his workbench sat a device that looked like a cross between alien technology and human engineering. Smooth alien curves were interrupted by human-made modifications and additions. What does it do? Lisa asked. It generates 3 times more power than the original alien design, and it can modify its own output based on changing conditions. Aliens built perfect machines, but we built smart machines. Carlos, how is that possible? Their technology is thousands of years ahead of ours. That's exactly the problem, Carlos replied. Their technology is so advanced that they stopped innovating. They perfected their designs and then never changed them. But humans never stopped tinkering, never stopped trying to make things better. Meanwhile, Captain Alex Turner was preparing humanity's small space fleet for the fight of their lives. Earth only had 12 military spacecraft, compared to the Velthrin's 15 massive ships. But Alex had been studying the alien formations and had noticed something important. Attention all ship commanders, Alex said over the communication system. The enemy ships are powerful, but they're used to fighting opponents who use conventional tactics. We're going to do something they won't expect. Commander Jane Foster, captain of the defense ship Guardian, responded first. What did you have in mind, Captain Turner? The aliens position their ships for maximum intimidation, not maximum combat effectiveness. They expect their enemies to group together defensively. Instead, we're going to spread out and attack from multiple directions simultaneously. Sir, that violates standard defensive doctrine, said Captain Mike Davis from the ship Defender. Exactly. Alex replied. Standard doctrine is what they expect. We're going to write new doctrine on the spot. While the military prepared for space combat, Dr. Amanda Clark was making another crucial discovery about alien psychology. She had been analyzing every conversation with the Velthrin, looking for patterns in their thinking. Commander Morrison. She called to Jake over the communication system. I think I understand why the aliens are so confused by our behavior. What do you mean, Amanda? Their entire civilization is built on the idea that there are only 2 types of species in the galaxy, those who protect and those who need protection. They literally cannot comprehend the idea of a species that protects itself. That's why. They keep asking how we can possibly defend ourselves. Exactly. In their worldview, young species are helpless without guidance from older, more advanced species. The concept of self-reliance is completely foreign to them. How does that help? You? Jake, if they can't understand our thinking, they can't predict our actions. Every military strategy they have is based on fighting species that think like they do. At that moment, alarms began sounding throughout the human fleet. The attack had begun. The first sign of trouble came from the outer planets. Long-range sensors detected unknown ships attacking human mining operations on asteroids beyond Mars. The attackers used weapons that matched Veilthrin technology, but carried no identification markings. "This is it," President Martinez said to her advisors in the underground command center. "They're starting the fake attacks to make us beg for their protection." "Madam President," General Hill reported, "we're receiving distress calls from asteroid. Mining Station 7. They're under attack by unknown hostiles." "General, are our ships ready?" "Yes, Madam President. Captain Turner's fleet is moving to intercept. Tell them to engage the attackers, but also to capture one of their ships if possible. We need proof of what the Veilthrin are doing in space." Captain Turner's fleet approached the battle zone using tactics no alien species had ever seen before. Instead of flying in formation, the human ships spread out across thousands of miles, approaching from different angles. "Guardian, this is Turner. Begin evasive pattern 7. Defender here, starting random trajectory changes. Freedom acknowledging, initiating unpredictable maneuvers." The alien attack ships, expecting human vessels to group together for mutual protection, found themselves facing enemies coming from every direction. Worse, the human ships kept changing course and speed in ways that made no logical sense. Commander Veltok, leading the Veilthrin attack squadron, tried to adapt to the human tactics. All ships surround the human vessels and destroy them. But every time the alien ships moved to surround a human vessel, that ship would suddenly change direction and escape while another human ship attacked from an unexpected angle. "This makes no sense," Veltok said to his crew. "Why do they separate their forces? Why do they not defend each other?" "Commander," his tactical officer replied, "they appear to be defending each other by not defending each other. That is impossible." "Yet?" "It is what they are doing, Commander." The battle continued for 2 hours. The human ships, though smaller and less powerful, proved impossible to pin down. They attacked, retreated, regrouped, and attacked again from new directions. The alien ships, designed for overwhelming opponents through superior firepower, found themselves confused and frustrated. Finally, Captain Turner achieved his objective. The human ship Courage, commanded by Captain Sarah Kim, managed to disable one of the attacking vessels using Carlos Viga's new hybrid weapons. "All ships, this is Turner. Mission accomplished. We have a prisoner and proof of Veilthrin involvement. Return to Earth immediately." Back on Earth, the captured alien ship provided all the evidence humanity needed. The vessel was identical to Veilthrin technology, operated by Veilthrin crew members and carrying orders from High Arbiter Zektar himself. "Now we have them," President Martinez said as she reviewed the evidence. "Maria, I want this information broadcast to every species in the galaxy. Let everyone see what the Veilthrin really are." Intelligence Director Maria Santos smiled grimly. "Already working on it, Madam President. We're using the Veilthrin's own communication networks to spread the truth." But the Veilthrin weren't finished. High Arbiter Zektar appeared on communication. Screens around Earth, his expression showing anger for the first time. "Humans of Earth," he said, "you have made a grave mistake. You attacked peaceful vessels that were investigating reports of hostile activity in your system. High Arbiter, President Martinez replied, broadcasting her response to the entire galaxy. We have evidence that those vessels were operating under your direct orders. We also have communication records proving that you planned these fake attacks to force us to accept your protection. For the first time since arriving at Earth, High Arbiter Zektar looked genuinely worried. President Martinez, I do not know what false evidence you believe you have found, but I assure you that the Veilthrin hegemony does not engage in deception. Then explain this, President Martinez said, displaying the captured communication records for all to see. These are your own words, High Arbiter, ordering the attack on our civilian facilities. The transmission reached not only Earth, but hundreds of worlds across the galaxy. For the first time in centuries, protected species were seeing proof of what their protectors really were. On the Veilthrin homeworld, emergency councils were being called. Never before had their methods been exposed so completely. Never before had a target species fought back so effectively. High Arbiter Zektar made one final attempt to regain control of the situation. Humans, you have interfered with galactic peace and order. The final battle began 3 days after humanity exposed the Veilthrin deception to the galaxy. High Arbiter Hektar, facing the collapse of his empire's reputation, had no choice but to launch a full assault on Earth. All human vessels, this is Admiral Sam Fletcher, came the voice over the communication system. Sam had been promoted to lead Earth's entire defense fleet after the success of their first engagement. Enemy ships are approaching from 3 directions. Remember your training. Stay unpredictable. From the bridge of the flagship Liberty, Sam watched as 50 Veilthrin warships entered Earth's solar system. The aliens had brought everything they had in this sector of the galaxy. It was meant to be an overwhelming show of force that would crush human resistance once and for all. Admiral, reported Captain Turner from his ship, we count 50 enemy vessels against our 15 ships. Understood, Captain. All ships execute Plan Chaos. Plan Chaos was something no military academy in the galaxy had ever taught. Instead of forming defensive lines or meeting the enemy head-on, human ships scattered in completely random directions. Some headed toward the outer planets, others dove toward the sun, and a few seemed to be leaving the solar system entirely. High Arbiter Zektar watched this display from his command ship with complete confusion. What are they doing? He asked his tactical officer. Unknown, High Arbiter. Their movements make no strategic sense. Are they retreating? Some appear to be retreating, others appear to be attacking, and still others seem to have no purpose at all. Zektar had commanded fleets for over 200 years. He had conquered dozens of worlds and fought hundreds of battles, but he had never seen anything like this. All ships, pursue and destroy the human vessels, he ordered. But pursuing ships that moved randomly proved impossible. Every time a Veilthrin ship moved to intercept a human vessel, the humans would suddenly change direction. When the aliens tried to surround them, the humans would split up and go in different directions. When the Veilthrin attempted to predict their movements, the humans would do something completely unexpected. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Carlos Vega was putting the finishing touches on humanity's secret weapon. Tony, how long until the communication array is ready? Carlos asked his assistant, Tony Miller. 5 more minutes, Carlos. The quantum entanglement transmitters are almost synchronized. What Carlos and Tony had built was something the galaxy had never seen before. Using a combination of alien technology and human innovation, they had created an instant communication system that could reach anywhere in the galaxy immediately. This is going to change everything, Carlos said as he activated the system. 4. The first time in galactic history, separated civilizations will be able to talk to each other instantly. The first test message went out to the Corran survivors at the galaxy's edge. The response came back instantly. "Incredible," came Commander Zeph's voice. "Carlos, his communication system works perfectly. We can coordinate actions across the entire galaxy now." "Commander Zeph, are other survivor groups ready to help?" "Yes, Carlos. We have been secretly organizing for decades, waiting for someone to challenge the Velthron successfully. The humans have given us hope. Back in space, the battle was going badly for the Velthron. Their superior ships were struggling to hit targets that refused to behave logically. But worse news was coming from across their empire. High Arbiter, reported his communication officer. We are receiving rebellion reports from 17 protected worlds. The species there are demanding independence. What? How is this possible? The humans are broadcasting their success to the entire galaxy. Protected species are seeing that resistance is possible. Zektar realized that losing to humanity would mean more than just one failed conquest. It would mean the end of the Velthron Empire. All ships, concentrate fire on the human homeworld. If we destroy Earth, their rebellion dies with them. But as the Velthron fleet moved toward Earth, they discovered that the humans had one more surprise waiting for them. "Admiral Fletcher," came Dr. Amanda Clark's voice from Horizon Station. "The Liberation fleets are ready." "Liberation fleets?" Fletcher asked. "Sam, while you've been fighting here, we've been coordinating with survivor species across the galaxy. They're attacking Velthron control centers on 12 different worlds simultaneously. How many ships do we have? Over 300 vessels from 6 different species. And Admiral, they're all using human tactical doctrine now. Across the galaxy, the impossible was happening. Species that had been enslaved for centuries were fighting back using human strategies. Random attack patterns, unpredictable movements, and constant adaptation were confusing Velthron forces everywhere on the world of Kepler 442b. The species that Zektar had claimed was prospering under protection was actually rebelling. Commander Lisa Santos, who had escaped Earth secretly 3 days earlier, was coordinating the attack. "All rebel ships, this is Santos. Remember, the Velthron expect logical military tactics. Do the opposite of what makes sense. The rebel fleet attacked the Velthron control station from 16 different directions at once, using no formation at all. The confused defenders, trying to respond to attacks coming from everywhere and nowhere, found themselves overwhelmed by the chaos. Back in Earth's solar system, High Arbiter Zektar was facing his worst nightmare. His fleet was being slowly picked apart by human ships that refused to fight fair. Worse, reports were coming in of defeats across the Empire. "High Arbiter," his aide reported, "we have lost contact with control stations on 23 worlds. The rebellions are spreading faster than we can respond." Zektar made a desperate decision. "Open a communication channel to the human leader. I will speak with President Martinez directly." When the communication opened, President Martinez was waiting in the White House Situation Room, surrounded by advisors from around the world. "President Martinez," Zektar said, "I request an immediate ceasefire. We must discuss terms." "High Arbiter, the only terms we'll discuss are your complete withdrawal from all protected worlds and the dissolution of your empire." "That is impossible. Without protection, these worlds will be destroyed by galactic threats. High Arbiter, you are the galactic threat. You've been creating the dangers you claim to protect against." "President Martinez, you do not understand. The galaxy is truly dangerous. There are hostile species, cosmic phenomena, resource conflicts between worlds. The Velthron provide real protection from real threats." President Martinez paused. For the first time, the alien leader seemed to be speaking honestly. "High Arbiter, are you saying there are actual dangers in the galaxy that species need protection from?" "Yes, many dangers. But young species cannot protect themselves. They need guidance, structure, experienced leadership. What if there was another way? President Martinez asked. What do you mean? What if species could protect each other without one group controlling all the others? What if protection came from cooperation between equals instead of submission? To superiors? Zektar stared at the screen in confusion. Cooperation between equals? President Martinez, that is impossible. Someone must lead. Someone must make decisions. Someone must provide protection. High Arbiter, what if everyone leads? What if decisions are made together? What if protection comes from mutual support instead of control? The alien leader was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. President Martinez, in all my centuries of experience, I have never encountered such concepts. How would such a system function? High Arbiter, let me show you. Over the next hour, President Martinez explained humanity's proposal. Instead of the Veilthrin Empire, the galaxy would have a cooperative alliance. Species would maintain their independence while working together for mutual protection. Technology and resources would be shared freely. Decisions would be made by consensus, not by the strongest species imposing their will on weaker ones. But who would be in charge of this alliance? Zektar asked. No one would be in charge, High Arbiter. Everyone would be equal partners. That cannot work. There must be hierarchy. There must be order. High Arbiter, look around you. Your hierarchical order is collapsing. Dozens of species are choosing freedom over protection. Maybe it's time to try something new. Dr. Amanda Clark, watching the conversation, realized something important. President Martinez, I don't think the Veilthrin are evil. I think they genuinely believe that hierarchy and control are the only ways to create safety and order. President Martinez nodded. High Arbiter, we're not asking you to surrender. We're asking you to join us as equals. In building something better. Join you? The Veilthrin have ruled this sector for 1,000 years. We do not join others. Others join us. And how has that worked out? President Martinez asked gently. Your empire is falling apart because you never learned to treat other species as partners instead of subjects. Across the galaxy, the war was ending not through conquest, but through liberation. Species after species was choosing independence and cooperation over protection and submission. The Veilthrin forces, faced with enemies they couldn't understand using tactics they couldn't predict, were surrendering or retreating. But the most important victory was happening in the conversation between President Martinez and High Arbiter Zektar. High Arbiter, your choice is simple.